Hey, good morning, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, today I have a legend in the building, a man who didn't just run the wing tee, he perfected it. 40 years of coaching, talking about Georgia, Tennessee, 2 state titles, over 279 wins, which is, I can't even fathom 279 wins. It's hard to get 9 wins. 279 wins is insane. He has clinics that draws coaches from all over the country. I'm talking about Coach Roger Holmes. Coach, welcome to the platform. How are we doing?
I'm doing great, man. It's great to have an opportunity to be on your podcast, a chance to meet you. We talked a little bit off the air, man. What a great story you have. And, you know, I'm excited to be here, talk about the wing tee, talk about, ideas and philosophies behind the wing tee and maybe share a little bit of knowledge that helps a young coach, somebody that's out trying to get going. You mentioned I've been in the state of Tennessee and the state of Georgia, and I started out as a high school wing tee quarterback that we were 1-3 and had an open date. Our coach, one of the assistants there, had been a wing tee coach in a junior high. And he talked with the head coach, and we installed the wing tee in an open date. And really, we had 5 plays is what we got put in during that open date. Our football team went on a run and won 18 games in a row before we lost. And being a high school quarterback, that kind of set me into the mind frame of this works, you know. Then I went off to Middle Tennessee State University and played for a guy that was rebuilding a program by the name of Boots Donnelly. And actually, my first year there, I'm a DB, and I'm on the scout team, obviously. And Coach Donnelly decides he's going to run some wing tee stuff. So back in that day, the University of Delaware, where the wing tee was made famous, if you will, it actually originated at the University of Michigan with a coach by the name of Evashevsky and another coach by the name of Nelson. But they're running it a little bit at MTSU. I graduate. I go back to my high school, which was Westmoreland High School in northern Middle Tennessee, who still runs the wing tee to this day.
Wow.
And it goes back to 1976, I think it was, when we put it in. So they're still doing it. I think maybe have had 2 losing seasons in the history of that time. And then after 2 years there, I left Westmoreland and I went to Beach High School in Hendersonville, Tennessee, to work for what I still consider to be the number 1 wing tee football coach of all time, and that was a gentleman by the name of Herschel Moore. Coach Moore has passed on, but he and I used to meet in his office when I was assistant for him, and we had a 1-hour staff X&O clinic meeting every day during the off season for 6 years.
Wow.
And I learned so much football from Coach Moore. The things he was doing back in the 60s and 70s are still things that you're just now starting to see in the NFL.
Right.
Coach Moore did not invent the jet sweep, but he made the jet sweep a national play. That play actually originated close to you in Crestview High School in Crestview, Florida.
That area.
I think it went from there to Pascagoula, Mississippi.
No doubt.
From Pascagoula, Mississippi, it went to West Tennessee. One of Coach Moore's sons played against the team, Henry County, that was running the jet sweep in Tennessee back in the 70s or 80s, I guess it was, maybe 90s. That's a huge difference. It would have been the 90s. And Coach Moore got a hold of it. He reached out to the guy in Crestview. We got all his cut-ups, and we started studying it. And we actually developed the blocking rules and the thoughts and the timing and all that behind the jet sweep. And now you see it on every college team and in the NFL. And it really became a major play. Coach Moore, when he left Beach, went to Cumberland University. They led the nation in college football for rushing in 3 out of 4 years. He was a wing T guy, but the Herschel Moore system was different than the University of Delaware system, and we'll get into some of that. But once the University of Delaware went to Coach Moore and said, "Tell us what you know about this jet sweep." We call it speed sweep. Everybody else calls it jet sweep. And University of Delaware put it in, and it became a accepted play in the wing T offense. Until Delaware puts it in, back in those days, it wasn't accepted. So there's kind of the history and the story of my wing T background. And when Coach Moore retired, they made me the head coach at Beach High School. I changed some of the things that Coach Moore was doing, and we have continued to have to evolve our offensive system to match what defenses do today. So ours is modernized, but it's still, I'll give 100% credit. Our system is the Herschel Moore wing T system, which we advertise and say is the most versatile wing T
Right.
that you can find.
Man, that's wow! It's a master class of just the history. That's what I love about football, especially the wing T specifically, is just the history and all the changes that have happened since then. So I want to go back to something you said. You said your high school installed 5 plays. Do you remember those 5 plays? I'm sure there were 5 running plays, correct?
The buck sweep, the trap, the counter crisscross, which was the reverse. We had the bootleg, which is basically all of the buck series. Actually, we had 6. We ran the belly with the down play into the tight end, and we had a counter dive to the halfback. Those were our 5 basic plays that we hung our hat on. Now, the second year, we added a couple of the belly option for me to run as the quarterback. And, of course, we had some 3-step pass game, and we added the weak side belly. But that first year, it was basically 5 plays. And that year, that was back in the days when only one team went to the state playoffs out of each region. And because we got off to the slow start, we did not make it into the playoffs that year. We played in a bowl game. Back then, anybody didn't make the playoffs. If you had 7 wins, you could get in a bowl. So we get in a bowl. Won the bowl, and the next year we lost the state semifinal game 7-5 in overtime.
Wow.
Tough loss.
Yeah, close game. Close game for sure. So let's talk about the speed sweep a little bit. So when you install the speed sweep, what are the keys that separate a 3-yard play from a 50-yard play?
When you get into the nuts and bolts of the speed sweep, the first thing I think is the most important, and one of the reasons it's a little more difficult, for example, from the gun than maybe under center. We tell everybody the first thing that has to happen, number one, is the handoff has to occur in the play side A gap. If the quarterback is handing it off before the guy gets to the center or even right behind the center, a defensive lineman with his hand on the ground, our rules are we don't block anybody from B gap in. The direction the play is going, and we feel like that guy cannot make the tackle if his hand is on the ground. So we always pull the front side guard. Now, if that guy's standing up and he can see the motion coming in the vision, he can adjust his angle on his get off and maybe make the play. So that's without trying to get into a lot of clinic stuff. That's the number one thing, and always pull the play side guard. All right, now we allow everybody from the tackle out, depending on our formation. The deal is to create the edge. I'm not a history guy, but a guy that taught me in history that if you want to win a war, the key to winning a war is to outflank your opponent.
Right.
Think about real war. If you can get them outflanked and come from the outside in, you got a chance. Well, a lot of what is the philosophy of the wing T is put defensive players in conflict. But number 2, for us, it's find the different formations and the ability to outflank you. So our offensive linemen and tight ends or running backs, they all have calls that they can make. They want to reach the first guy over outside of them. If they can't reach him, they'll make a call to the first man outside. You block down on this guy, and I'll pull for yours. So there's a whole lot of blocking things, but it all really goes down to finding a way to outnumber or outflank the opponent to be able to create a soft edge.
Great answer. That's a lot of great information there. Let's talk about buck sweep a little bit. So, why does buck sweep work at every level, from youth, high school, college? When so many modern schemes kind of fade out, but buck sweep is one of those things that's kind of stayed, and it's a great play.
Well, as a wing T guy for nearly 50 years now, counting high school and so on and so forth, I think a lot of people there for a while, when the jet sweep became a play and everybody was doing it, people started eliminating the buck sweep from the wing T offense. They said, well, we've got to sweep with the jet sweep. The buck sweep is not an outside run play. The buck sweep is an off tackle running play. And we try to explain it to our young men like this. Back in the day of the I formation, fullback and tailback are going through the hole. And once that blocked by the fullback, you make your cut. Well, the backside guard through the hole and the halfback making the cut are no different than a fullback and tailback in an I formation. You're obviously trying to create angles to block down. Your front side guard is pulling to kick the edge defender. And now when the backside guard goes through and that halfback makes that 90-degree cut, it's an ISO football play.
Right.
And that's how we coach it, guys. This is a downhill, off-tackle run play, very much like the eye. And we have to coach our kids. All young kids want to bounce it outside, bounce it outside. The key to the buck sweep is downhill ISO till you clear the level one defenders, meaning the defensive line, and now you've got a three-way cut. Either the seam is there to go straight ahead, you break it to the boundary, or you cut back. Now, the other big thing about it is it puts the defensive end, the 9 technique, 6 technique, whatever, he's put in conflict, because if he's not squeezing the down block by the tight end, you should be able to run the belly underneath him. So if he's stepping out to stop the buck sweep, you ought to be able to run the belly G. Now you start doing that to him, and he starts squeezing the down block to stop the belly, and now your wing back is able to pin him and the buck sweep. So again, it all fits into that philosophy of what the wing T brings, and that's to put defenders in conflict.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing you talk about is, formationing people to death. How do you use alignments to control defensive rules?
I think the number one thing, and I'm going to go ahead right now and I'm going to plug my book. Okay. But if that's okay. I've got a book out there and you can find it at southeastwingtclinic.com. It's 300 pages and it goes from staff organization to practice organization to how do we game plan, which we're getting into, all the different series, all the different blocking variations, all of that type of stuff. And it is available, like I said, on my website at southeastwingtclinic.com. And but back to your answer or your question about how do we use formations. Well, number one, here's something for all your coaches out there to think about and mull this over. Every defense that's ever been invented was invented to defend balanced formations. Nobody ever made a defense to defend unbalanced formations. Okay? So what I'm telling you is, over all of our years of using unbalanced formations, we have found there are only 5 things that a defense can do to defend an unbalanced look. Those 5 things, without buying the book. Okay, number one, they're going to slide down one man. Well, here's the thing. You're an odd front defense. You spend all of your time teaching your defensive personnel how to fit from an odd front. The minute you slide down one man, you're an even front. Linebacker fits change. And you've got 3 days to get ready for us. And you're really having to play a different defense. Okay. The second thing is You move a guy over, they move a guy over. For example, a lot of your 8-man fronts, they'll bring their outside linebacker over. Well, the outside linebacker is responsible for pitch contain. Who's containing the jet sweep weak side? Who's got the pitch guy on the veer back to the weak side? You just moved him to the strong side because of our unbalanced looks. Okay. The third thing that we see is they rotate the secondary. For example, most 8-man fronts, they're going to be in 2 coverages. They're going to be in a 3 deep, or they're going to be in some type of man or man free. The minute you have to rotate the secondary, I'll put you in a cover 2 shell. You don't practice cover 2. You got 3 days to get ready. You see, you understand where I'm
Yes,
headed
sir.
with this? Then the fourth thing is that people do is they don't move their front anymore against Dublin. They won't rotate their secondary anymore against Dublin. They pull the rope with their linebackers. A 4-4 look. They've got you outnumbered inside 4-3. The minute you pull the rope, I put them in a 4-3. We're back to 3-on-3 inside. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Their fits all change. 4-3 fits are not the same as 4-4 fits. So it makes it different. The 3-5, they've got us outnumbered from tackle to tackle. They have 6 defenders. We have 5 blockers. When I start going to unbalance and they pull the rope with their linebackers, they're now in a 3-4. 3-5 defenses all want to blitz you. Okay, a lot of different blitz and gaps. You slide them down and put them in a 3-4, you've eliminated all of that. So the whole moral behind this story and all that type of stuff and the philosophies and ideas are in this book is what it does is it forces defenses to do something which makes what they normally do unsound. So using multiple unbalanced formations for us is huge. Now let's just take a defense. Let's say they're a 3-4 and they like to use a 4 deep secondary and they use a strong safety, which really eliminates, they've got more people on one side of the formation than they do the other. You play Dublin in that look, you're probably going to get a ton of balanced formation.
Right.
Wherever you set the guy, we go the other way. We do allow our quarterbacks to change the direction of many of our plays at the line of scrimmage based on how the defense is aligned.
That's awesome, and we will make sure we link the book, also the clinic. You have one March 6th to the 7th, so we'll make sure we have all that information there because, like you said, the book is just a wealth of knowledge, and I encourage everyone, even if you don't run the wing T, like this is a lot of stuff that you need to
Well,
you need to
that's what
add.
yeah, that's the thing about this book. The title of it is we're just talking about complete under center wing T manual, but from the film room to the game field. So it's 40 years of head coaching experience and knowledge. You don't have to run the wing T to look at practice schedules, to
For
look at
sure.
the things that have made us successful. We've had good players and I've had great coaches. I understand that, but this system has withheld the test of times as everything has changed. And Coach Moore, all of the books, he had several of them. Every book that Coach Moore has written and put together are all handwritten. And he gave them to me and asked me to put them up, keep them on my website. So when he's dead and gone, people that want his knowledge, I think his actual book, I had to put it in volume 1 and volume 2 because it's over 600 pages of football knowledge, but it's been really really good. I'm sorry for getting rambling. Go ahead.
No, no, this is about discussion with you. You have so much knowledge and so much information to give us as coaches, whether experienced or younger coaches, or you just want to learn about the wing T in general. You're someone that we want to go to learn this information because you can't substitute 40 years of knowledge. I mean, there's nothing like actually running it and experiencing it. So then once you get your material, you're able to kind of digest that information, and we just have to make sure that we have to be hungry for that stuff. So I
Yes.
love reading different styles of offenses as well because it's so many things you can take away. Like you said, the practice schedule and how you guys do certain things, blocking schemes, all that can be done. And whether from the spread. There's a lot of different things you can add to what people do, what might run traditionally.
You mentioned the spread. If you go to the evolution of the spread back in the day, okay, when it first came out, first team I ever remember coaching against that was in the spread offense was Brentwood High School up in Tennessee. And their head coach's name was Jack Daniels. Imagine that in the state
Great
of
name.
Tennessee. But anyway, they were four wide, shotgun, one back, and my coaches were going crazy. Gosh, we're playing against this. They're going to spread it out. They're going to throw it. No, they didn't. They threw tunnel screens, bubble screens, quick game, four verts. They ran inside zone and outside zone, and the quarterback was never a runner. That's how it started. And basically what they did was they counted. If you put 5 in the box, they ran the football. If you put 6 in the box, they threw the quick game. So that's how that offense started. Well, as time went on, they decided, okay, wait a minute. We need to be able to incorporate the quarterback run. So and now everybody, instead of a pro-style pocket quarterback, it started becoming an athlete. And they started doing a lot of the zone reads and quarterback counters, which made it a lot tougher for defenses to play. Defenses kind of start catching up a little bit, and now they start figuring out that's kind of when the 3-4 really evolved back. Because were those outside backers, were they in the box or were they out of the box? And it kind of screwed with their count a little bit, So defenses kind of caught up there. So all of a sudden, the next thing that happens is you start having the big, fabulous word RPO. Well, us wing T guys, we didn't know how to promote ourselves. The bootleg pass was the original RPO.
Right.
You get on the edge, you're faking a run. You get on the edge, they come to you, you throw the football. They stay back. Okay? You run the football. Hey, that's an RPO.
It is.
We just didn't have Twitter and didn't know how to promote ourselves back in that day. So anyway, it evolved to that. Now, when you look at the wing T as compared to the spread teams now used to be all zone blocking. Now they've all phased back in toward the wing T where they're using gap blocking schemes. The gap blocking scheme is never going to go away because it gives people that might not physically be able to match who they're going to play that week. Well, if you've got an angle to block someone, you can keep him from crossing your face or doing whatever, as opposed to being able to line up and knock his butt off the football.
Yeah, 1,000%. Let's talk about the O-line a little bit. We always talked about the blocking schemes, and obviously offensive line is key to any offense. But you said the O-line was the soul of the wing T. Can you just describe how the offensive line is within the wing T, and why they are the soul, and what the mindset is in regards to getting them ready for a game?
Our offensive line is the key. Our offensive guards are the key. Okay, if you don't, and we tell our young men all the time, and it makes them feel good, but the reality of it is we know we're not going to be very good without offensive guards. And we tell them, guys, if you were playing 25 years ago, you would be a fullback. The offensive guards in our style in this system would be what you used to think of, or as old timers knew what you wanted as a fullback in the I formation. He wasn't necessarily going to carry the ball a lot. He'd get it 3 or 4 times a game. But the reality of it was he was a young man that was physical, that could change direction, block people in space, be able to kick out a corner, be able to do this, be able, to lead through the hole and take on a linebacker. Those are the type of individuals that we look for as offensive guards. Our next pick would be our tight end, because you want to run so much in the off tackle, the C-gap hole, that our tight end is a very valuable person to us. And he is picked first by his ability to block as compared to his ability to catch the pass. However, there are a lot of years where we've got a pretty good athlete there, and that kid will catch anywhere from 8 to 10 touchdown passes within a season because of our ability to run the football, not because of his natural abilities as a tight end, but our abilities to run the football often have him running by a DB. One of the things that has changed our offense drastically is our ability to incorporate the midline option and the inside veer into our wing T. Uh, with that being said, we now believe that choosing the center in our offense, we want a taller young man to play center for us because obviously we coach him in his stance. We want the ball extended out in front of his head as far as we can.
Right.
That
Yeah.
little short arm center who, when he's in his stance and the ball is kind of up underneath his chin, what do defenses want to do now? They want to get all of the ball they can get, and they want to get off on the snap, and they want to penetrate. Well, if my center can extend the football, that pushes the defensive line another 18 to 24 inches off the ball. Obviously, wing T offensive linemen are cheating back as far as the rules will legally allow us to get back. And all of that is for the purpose of cutting off the penetration into the gaps. So, and odd fronts, people say, you mean you have a lot of success running the midline against the odd fronts? Probably as much or more than we do the even fronts. But the key is if we can get a center that's got some mass and he's got some length, so a nose can't just stalemate him, or stalemate still wins. But if he's getting knocked back into the backfield, that becomes hard for us to run the midline game and the midline triple. Uh, the most unique thing that I didn't mention a minute ago, and why our system is the most versatile wing T out there, is because of this blocking system that Coach Moore developed. Our blocking system is like learning your ABCs, and then you learn how to write words, and then you learn how to write sentences. Well, it is a system that allows us, there's not a play in our offense that we cannot block a minimum of 5 different ways. And it's all because of the system itself. Each lineman has a letter. Oh, for example, the typical buck sweep. You can take both guards are pulling and so on and so forth on the typical buck sweep. Well, you go against a 3-4. And the inside linebackers in the 3-4, they're keying your guards, and when your guards pull, they're scraping right down to the buck sweep. Well, why don't we just run it what we call buck 42 techs? Now that means that the front side tackle pulls to kick, the tight end still blocks down, the wing still blocks down, but the play side guard is basing the 50 linebacker. That linebacker's taught when I get a base block, I got to step up and take it on, not scrape. So we simply have to go from buck 42 special to buck 42 techs. And they're obviously, so, they play in a 4-eye out of that 3-4. And that tight end, he's pinching because of our midline veers and traps. Well, the tight end can't get there on that down block. Well, let's run buck 42 EX. Now your play side guard and tackle both man block. Your wing blocks down and you pull the tight end to kick. So this system has answers to whatever defensive problems that you're facing that week. The key is you have to be able to have a system to coach. And actually, there have been many times over our years, we've been able to come in at halftime because when you run something different like we do, you never know what you're going to get on Friday night.
Right.
So people will change their whole defensive philosophy and schemes trying to defend you. You get in on Friday night at halftime, and you may have to say, hey, instead of running buck special, let's go to buck 42 EX. Tag it on the board, make sure everybody gets refreshed on what their rules are, and hey, we're off and running. So that is really on top of our formations. What makes our system unique is the blocking system that was developed by Coach Herschel Moore.
Yeah, definitely. If you had one day to teach a brand new O-line, what's one of the first drills you would install, and kind of why would you install that drill?
This may sound too simple, But the first thing we start teaching our young men, we call it the bird dog drill. It is the first step that you need in every block that we do. If we're using a trap scheme, what is the bird dog step for a trap? You're ripping the elbow, the toes are pointed up into the line of scrimmage. First step on a buck sweep pull, first step on a post lead on a double team. It's all about the first step. When you go back and study all your offensive linemen, when they got beat on their first step, even in a pass pro. If I got beat, it was because of my first step. So we spend an enormous amount of time with our offensive linemen preseason, fall camp, and at least 7 minutes a week in season, and we're doing bird dog first step drills.
Love it. That's awesome. So let's talk about coaches or staffs that have changed their offensive schemes based off some of your material. I'm sure you've had coaches that say, "Hey, we're gonna switch. We like your material that you have." What has been some of the reception that you've seen, and maybe some of the best success stories you've had off someone going with your style of the wing tee, or maybe even switching to the wing tee in general?
There have been multiple. This year alone, there was a staff up in North Georgia that at Lafayette High School. It's not like they went 10-0 this year, but they sold 100% into our system. Bought every coach on their staff one of the books. All of our system is on CoachTube. They all went in, and they can find that off of my website too. It's the instructional videos that go along with the book and so on and so forth. And he reached out to me multiple times this year and was telling me that, the uniqueness of what they're doing. They've had the best season that Lafayette High School has had in 30-something years. There was a coach that is up in Wisconsin, Ken Kraus, reached out to me the other day. They finished their season. They lost in the state semifinals. But he told me the thing that made the huge difference for them this year was adapting our unbalanced formations. And the problems, he said, your predictions were exactly right on what people did, and we were prepared for it, and I thought that was a good thing. But the funniest story is that a longtime friend of mine, when I first moved to Georgia, our wing tee was different than everybody else's, as we've already kind of indicated. And there were a lot of people that were running the wing tee here in the state of Georgia because the University of Delaware used to come down every year and put on a wing tee camp at West Georgia College. And they instructed it. They met with coaches. So ours was different. And we go from a team that had not won a playoff game in 6 years. And I did not get hired till the last week of June. So we had to put in a complete new offense, defense, and kicking game in a team that hadn't won a playoff game in 6 years. And we went 14-1. We lost in the state championship. Well, I had a guy, his name was Sid Fritz. He was at Vidalia High School, the home of the onions that are sold all over the world, Vidalia, Georgia.
Yep.
And he was on our schedule. No, I take that back. He was in AAA, or we were in AAA, and he was in AA, I think, at that time. And he comes to me and he says, "Hey, I want to learn your wing tee." I said, "Sid, I don't know if I want to sit down and tell you everything that we're doing." He said, we won't ever have to play each other, Coach. You're in AAA, I'm in AA. What difference does it make, man? Hell, help me out. I said, "Well, all right, if y'all want to come up here, we'll." So I met with them for a solid week every day from about 3 in the evening when they got out of school till we finished up about 9:30 or 10. Then he comes back every day during watches spring practice, and lo and behold, the reclassification comes out and he's in my region. The sucker beat me, okay, for the region championship, and he turned around that year and he ended up playing. I think they lost in the state semifinals in the Georgia Dome running our stuff. So
Wow.
at the end of the day, Sid is still a good friend. The next year, he had a four-star defensive tackle that transferred to my school, so I felt like that we got even the next year.
Got even.
State championship. So at the end of the day, I gave him an offense, and he gave me a four-star D tackle.
It was well worth it, right?
In the long run, yes.
In the long
Not
run,
at the time.
not at the time. That's awesome. Do you think he knew at the time? Maybe he knew in his
He
head, like
didn't
maybe
know.
he didn't know.
He didn't know, but
It just yeah,
darn
yeah,
sure didn't work out well. But you talk about the clinics. I love doing clinics. For your people out there listening, I'm sure they're around the country. I do the Glacier clinics every year, and this year I'm going to be in Indianapolis for their Glacier on January 30th. I'm actually going to be in Orlando the week of February the 6th. I'm going to be in Atlantic City the week of February 19th, 20th, and 21st. And then, like I said, the Southeast Wing T Clinic is March 6th and 7th here in Dublin, Georgia. And it's on my website. But, hey, we do go occasionally. If people want us, we will come to their place and do a clinic for them specifically. They just need to reach out to me and see if we can find the right date to make something work.
yeah. You're all. I mean, you're traveling wing tee everywhere. Did you ever think, as you early within your years coaching, that the wing tee you would be doing this, traveling the country, teaching the wing tee?
No, I really didn't, and then that really wasn't a desire. To be quite frank with you, uh, because of the success that we brought into Georgia and because of how it was different. On two different occasions, we've broken the state scoring record in the state of Georgia for the most points. Uh, so I had a lot of people that were coming to me saying, "Hey, will you, share some stuff with us, talk with us about what you're doing?" And I'm never going to tell anybody no. But what got to happening, quite frankly, is I was giving up 6 or 7 weekends
Yeah,
a year away from my family during the off season to uh, basically give anybody anything they wanted for the wing tee for free. And that's how the Southeast Wing Tee Clinic actually got started. Coach Moore was still alive. We started that clinic in a one room, a hotel that had one meeting room, and I think we had 80 coaches and had a great time with the speakers that we brought in. We did it the next year, and the hotel wasn't big enough to hold it. Word got out that, golly, man, this is a heck of a clinic. They treat you right. They got good speakers. And all of a sudden, we had to turn people away. So I moved that clinic to a vocational college here in Dublin that could seat 1,500 if we had that many people. And what we did is we actually offer a under center traditional wing tee room. There is another room that is a gun hybrid wing tee room. Might be a little single wing in it, might be some triple option in it, but it's gun hybrid wing tee stuff. The third room is a spread offense. The coaches wanted that, and we made a spread room because, like we said, there's a lot of the things that are happening in the spread game now that also fit into what some people are trying to do in the wing tee stuff. And then coaches said, Coach, this is the only clinic we would go to if we could bring our whole staff. So what we did then was we added a fourth room, which are all defensive lectures. So now if you want to bring your whole staff to this clinic, and it's developed. The biggest year we actually had was the year prior to COVID. There were over 400 coaches that were at our clinic here in the little town of Dublin, Georgia. And I think when the COVID thing hit, uh, that's when internet clinics, all of that stuff started taking off, and people felt like, why go out of town if we can get it online? And I got news for people. I mean, I know I'm an old guy, and I'm not as modern as a lot of these young bucks are. It's not all about the X and O. It's about getting off to the side with that coach that you heard talk, getting to know them face to face, getting them to be willing to open up to you, to really give you the nuts and bolts and the things that matters. That's what the in-person clinics are all about. And we even got it set up now with our clinic. For example, we have a sporting goods sale that goes on, and it's Nike shoes for $50, the
Right.
$150 pair of shoes, the coaching shirts. It's a clearance sale for them, and coaches from all over the country. I think they come to my clinic now because they can go in that room and buy three things, and it saves them everything that they paid to even for their hotel room or for the one night. You know, you go to Glacier and it's a 4-night deal or minimum 3-night deal of renting hotel rooms. And if you're a wing T person, you might get 6 hours in 3 days. If
Right.
you come to ours and you split your staff up, you can get 32 hours of wing T in a matter of renting a hotel room for one night. And then we're going to feed you a good barbecue meal with some cold beer when the clinic's over with on Friday night, and have a good time and talk ball.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. It's a place to go for sure. This question, kind of as you're talking, I definitely wanted to ask this: is, you have so much experience. What has the game of football meant to you, and what has it taught you and helped you out in life? I know you have grandkids and you have a big family, but kind of just to talk about football, what it means to you, and just kind of the lessons that it's taught you.
I think football as a young kid developed my work ethic and developed my desire and taught me how to set goals and how to work toward those goals. Obviously, it taught me how to be a team player. I don't say this with any disrespect, but if I wasn't a team player, I wouldn't be sitting here this morning with you. You sent me a message and say, "Hey, we'd love to have you." Well, if you'd love to have me, I want to do what I can to help you, and those type things. That's all part of what coaching is. Uh, I'm getting close to 300 wins. I think right now we're at 288. That's a goal of mine. I'd like to say that my football teams won 300 games. So there's a goal that's sitting out there. There's a carrot out there that maybe keeps me hungry and keeps me going. But you know, my father got killed in an automobile accident. I think I was 10 years old. My high school football coaches meant so much to me and helped develop my love for this game and my desire to to play the game. Well, hey, I'm 5'8". I weighed 155 pounds. Not a whole lot of people wanted a college football player that was 5'8", 155 pounds. But I went on and I played a couple of years at Middle Tennessee State University. And at that time, that's when I knew that I wanted to coach. I went back, like I said, to my hometown, spent 2 years there, left, went to Beach High School, was Coach Moore's defensive coordinator for 6 years. And then when he left, they gave me the head coaching job. I stayed there 11 years. At that time, 11 years as the head coach, 17 years total at Beach High School. Quite frankly, I was starving to death. My salary at that time was $42,500. I'd been a head coach in the largest classification in the state of Tennessee for 11 years. Had 3 kids. Didn't have any idea how I was going to be able to put them through college on the income that I had. I read a newspaper article in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution about 5 or 6 years before I came here, and it was called Pay Dirt. And it was talking about the salaries that high school football coaches, a lot of them had been able to make while they were in the state of Georgia. And I started looking. If I was hard headed, I wouldn't be here. I spent 6 years applying for different head coaching jobs across the state of Georgia. In that time, I did interview for 14 different jobs. 3 or 4 different times I was the finalist down to me and one other person. Well, I didn't get any of those jobs. I had one offered to me and I turned it down. I just didn't feel like there was a commitment to be successful there. And, well, long story short, I end up in Dublin, Georgia. I got a $35,000 pay raise the day I moved my family to Dublin, Georgia, and my friends in Tennessee told me that I was crazy. You could stay right here. You don't have to go anywhere. Why don't you get into administration if you want to make more money? I said, because I love what I do. If I become an administrator, they're going to want me to be an assistant principal. All I get to deal with as an assistant principal on a daily basis is the kids that are in trouble and the problems that go with that. I want to work with the kids that want me to help them, and they're dying. They'll run through a wall to try to do what you're trying to help them with and try to get them to do. So I felt like my calling was to stay in coaching. So we moved to Georgia to do it. Uh, now I've been here for 24 years. This is in the middle of my 24th year, and I'm still at Dublin High School in Dublin, Georgia. I think maybe when we had our 200th win in Georgia, a lady from the TV station said, "Coach, what do you think's been the most remarkable thing in your career?" And that's kind of, I think, what you might be asking. And this was what I told her. I said, when I graduated college, my high school hired me. Okay. When I left there, I went to become Herschel Moore's assistant because I knew what that could do for me learning the game of football. When Herschel Moore retired and left, they gave me his head coaching job. When I finally got an opportunity to come to Dublin, Georgia, they haven't run me off in 24 years. All of that is contributed to football. I haven't always been able to get what I want. Players don't get what they want. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
what
sir.
The point that I'm trying to make out of all of this is we have our philosophy. We're going to run the wing team. It was funny, years ago, a booster club guy came to see me and he said, "Coach, I think, you might want to get into the shotgun some and do this and do that." And we've been in the gun a little bit over the years, depending on who that quarterback was. I said, "Well, you know what? If y'all want to hire a spread coach, what you need to do is fire me, because I believe in what we're doing. We play complementary football, as you look over the history of our wing T offense, all the years as a head football coach, we've averaged 33 points a game, okay, for 35 years. That's pretty doggone good.
Right.
Offensively, though, we've given up less than 16 points a game for 35 years. That's complementary football. You play solid defense, able to maintain the clock. You don't create a lot of risk plays. You don't turn the football over a great deal, and you'd be good in the kicking game. Don't get beat in the kicking game. Hopefully win it, but don't get beat ever in the kicking game. And if you do that, you're going to win a lot more games than you lose."
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a great, that's a great summary for sure. Let's talk a little about defensive coordinators facing you. Why do so many because they go up against a lot of spread teams, they face a lot of spread teams. Why do so many spread defensive coordinators panic when they see the wing T?
I don't know that any of them panic now. None of them ever told me that they panic.
Right.
I know one thing. I'm trying to get a schedule right now, and I'm having a whole lot of hard times getting the schedule.
That's panicking.
It's, the reality of it is because it's different.
Right.
Okay. The hardest thing to do is for their scout team to come close to simulating what we do. We're actually getting pretty good at simulating what people do in the spread, because our scout teams are running spread every
Right.
week, if that makes sense. So it's actually funny. You look down there occasionally in pregame warm-ups and you'll see them trying to simulate what we're doing. Actually, the quarterback is opening the wrong way to start out with. So
Right.
being able to simulate what we do, I'm sure, is extremely tough. Then when you look at it and you look at our film and you say, dang, they just blocked this trap 4 different ways in 4 different games.
Yeah.
Which one are they going to use against us? They look at it and they say, they've been in 74 different formations in the 3 games that we've looked at. What formations do we get ready for? So I think a lot of times what happens is what we do creates a paralysis by analysis
Yes.
of the people that we're going to play. And the what if is the concern, uh, but it also creates some issues for us. And again, like we talk about a lot of this in depth in this book on how do you game plan, how do you prepare. Now, I tell people this and I mean this. This might be a question that you would ask. Coach, what defense do you hate to see the most? And I tell them with all honesty, guys, we've scored 70 points against every defense that's ever been invented, and our butt has been shut out by every defense that's been invented. X's and O's, anybody that say X's and O's do not matter, X's and O's matter. Jimmy's and Joe's matter, okay? So you've got to have good talent. The beauty of the wing T is this. If we have a quarterback that can run the option, he doesn't throw very well, but he can run the option. You're now defending two distinct different offenses in one game. Defensive coordinators know you don't play man coverage against people that run the option because all they do is run you off and pitch the football and you have nobody left. Okay? We can put you into formations to run off your support people. Well, people want to jump into man-to-man to play the wing T because they want extra help out of those DBs fitting when those tight ends or wing backs or people block. So there's a conflict for them. You know, it's now, what if I've got a quarterback who throws well, but he can't run the option? Well, now in your sets, the formations you use, you can get in four wide quick sets just as quick as you can be in two tight ends double wing. You keep the wing T, and you marry the other, either whether it's throwing or the option, to the kid that plays quarterback. Now, I'm a good spread team. I've got a really good quarterback, but my backup is a sophomore who's not very good. If that sophomore gets hurt in game, or the starter gets hurt in game 3, the next 4 or 5 weeks, you could lose your whole season.
Right.
Waiting on that guy who stirs all the drink to get back. Right? Well, if I've got a sophomore who can't do anything but turn around and hand off for all of the basic wing T run plays, I can still be effective, maintain the clock, move the football, play good defense, and have a chance to win. So to me, those years when we've broken all the state scoring records, my quarterback could throw the football. He could run the option, both, as well as execute the basic wing T stuff.
Yeah, yes, sir. That's great stuff. And I have a couple more for you, and I really appreciate your time. It's been awesome. One, I definitely need to go back and rewatch this for sure. But what advice would you give to the young coach, or even a coach who's been coaching for a while, who feels overwhelmed and they're kind of just ready to quit, maybe move on to something else?
Oh, gosh. Set goals. Goals keep you moving. You know, I think that one of the things that people have to understand and people have to do the most, you ask about some of the success stories of people that have run the wing T offense, copied our system and been successful with it. There's also been a lot of people that have tried to adopt this system, and before they can get through the first year, they throw it out. The wing T, period, is an offense that requires you to have a good coaching staff. There are too many moving parts. You need to have a quality O-line person, and what we do is I keep 2 of them. One coaches centers and guards and individual group work, and one coaches tackles and tight ends. That way, if one leaves for another job, gets a head coaching job, or whatever it happens to be, I still have one veteran who understands everything we're doing, and we bring a new one in and we break him in and keep two there. That's the most important part is that. But, you know, it's an offense. It has to be coached. You have to, those first steps for those offensive linemen, those steps that the backs take. So it takes time. It's not going to look pretty. And I warn everybody about that when they put it in. There's been springs, and our guys have been doing it in Dublin for 24 years. The first 3 or 4 days, when you graduated 7 or 8 starters, it just doesn't look good. But if you will hang in there with it and keep working with it, it will be successful. So, whatever you're doing, commit to it 100%. Now, to me, if you're giving in to what the people are saying in the stands and complaining and griping, you're asking for failure. 2019, we won the state championship. We finished that year as the #3 rushing team in the United States, according to Max Preps. We lost the rushing championship by 60 yards. Our first game of the season, or second game, there was a lightning storm that occurred one play into the second quarter. We were up 21-0 at that point. They stopped the game. I believe had we played 3 more quarters, we'd have had more than 60 yards of offense and been the national rushing champion. People made a big deal out of that in the fact that we did not attempt a pass in the state semifinals or the state championship. Everybody throughout the course of the year, the press, some of our fans, some of our other people were making comments. Well, Dublin doesn't throw the football. There's no way you can win a state championship if you're not going to throw the football any more than Dublin does it. Well, our quarterback did not throw it well, quite frankly. We had an offensive line that was phenomenal. We had some great running backs. And after we'd won the state championship, my comments to our people at our banquet, this is a life lesson that our young men have learned. I said, you know what? Coach Holmes would like to drive a King Ranch, but my budget doesn't allow it. Our football team, for you people that would have liked to have seen us throwing the football to satisfy what you believed we needed to do, had we given into that, we wouldn't have brought home this state championship. This football team had to live within its means. They did, and now they got the ring to show for it, and I'm proud of them, and I hope they carried that with them through their whole life. They never get strapped with financial difficulties. They never get strapped with broken homes, broken families, because if you live within your means, things positive can happen.
Yeah, that's a great lesson there. Let's talk one final question. I actually have 2 final questions. So when coaches or individual players, ex-players, or whoever's crossed your path, when they talk about Coach Holmes 20 years from now, what do you hope they say about you?
He made us earn our chicken. That's our saying around here. We have baked chicken for our pregame meal on Friday nights or Friday evenings. And, our words around here are, you're going to have to earn your chicken. It doesn't matter who your mama is, doesn't matter who your daddy is, doesn't matter who's in the booster club. At the end of the day, my responsibility is to put the best 11 football players on the field that allow Dublin High School to have success. Everybody has a role in this. Backup is as important to me as a starter. And, that you had to earn your chicken, that Coach Holmes was hard, but he was fair. And, he always put the success of our team ahead of the success of any individual. We've got some people around here now. It's a little bit aggravating. They're in the kids' ears. It's the social media stuff about, why don't they do this or why don't they do that? They're killing a kid's opportunity to go play at the next level. They're doing all this and that and so on and so forth. Well, you know what? We've averaged 7 kids a year getting college paid for here at Dublin High School doing what we do. I don't think that in any way it is a head football coach's responsibility in high school to promote an individual over promoting the success of a team. And at the end of the day, I just feel like that, I guess if people could say anything about me was my life was dedicated to helping these young men be successful.
Yeah, yeah, I mean that's awesome stuff. And before I hand it to you for the last word, I just want to just from myself to you, just say thank you. This is I love talking to coaches, especially ones with the experience and the knowledge that you have, and to be able to take not only football lessons but life lessons, and just like we talked about before, football is more than just the game itself. It helps out so many young men, so many people, coaches. I do believe the game has saved a lot of individuals. Just the camaraderie, like you talk. I grew up without my father in my life, and just the coaches and all that was just so critical in my success in the military and my success outside in coaching. And that's why coaching means more than just, like you said, X's and O's. It's about touching those individuals beyond just the game of football. And so I just want to say thank you from myself to you, and I'll just leave the last word to yourself before we close this up.
Well, again, thank you for having me. I want to make sure that I do plug again my Under Center Coaching Wing T Manual. Again, you can find that at Southeast Wing T Clinic at gmail.com. I have probably 20 different courses that are on CoachTube if people likes to get it through video and that type thing. You know, if you're going to be at the Indy Glacier, the Glacier in Atlantic City or the Glacier in Orlando, stop by my room, even if you don't want to hear what we got to talk about, and say, "Hey, I heard your podcast." Put a face with a name and that type thing. But I enjoyed doing this. And last but not least, folks, if you want to be a part of a great football clinic, you want to look at our Southeast Wing T Clinic here in Dublin, Georgia on March 6th and 7th. And this clinic, we'll have college coaches speak. We'll have high school coaches speak. I think I'm in the processes right now, which is pretty neat. I think we're going to partner with Georgia Tech. I think their offensive staff's coming down and doing a part of the clinic. The defensive staff's going to come do a part of the clinic. And Coach Brent Key, who's turned that program on fire, is actually going to be our keynote speaker on Friday night. But this clinic is good. We have youth coaches, middle school coaches, high school coaches, some college coaches. There are a lot of people that are here. And again, you can, by the end of this month, I'll have the registration open and hopefully the speaker list all put out. But guys, again, if you're interested in maybe getting myself to come to your place and do a clinic, well, reach out to me because we can find a way to make it work. And hey, appreciate you again, Coach Rob, for having me on. And maybe we can do it again sometime. But I'm holding you to showing up at the Orlando Glacier and at least sticking your head in the door and giving me a high five.
Yeah, I got to come in just to hear, because now I got to dive more into it. We had talked about before about my experiences, which is not a lot, but just within the wing T and how great of an offense it is. So I need to learn a lot more myself. I'm looking forward to diving into the content and just really going through it. So I really appreciate your time. We will make sure we link the book, all the other stuff to this as we put it out there, because again, this is something that I believe could really help a lot of coaches. And you run a great clinic, so people, as they're trying to get their staffs developed and stuff, this is an opportunity, especially if you're here within the Southeast and beyond. This is an opportunity to come and really, like you said, it's more than just wing T. It's spread, it's under center, so it's so much.
Let me say this, because again, being a podcast is nationwide. One thing that we do that's unique with our clinic is we make it available on Facebook live stream. Because I have so many coaches all across the country, they actually register for that clinic. We put them into a private group so they have access to it. Nobody else can get access to it. But if you want to be a part of our clinic, you can register for it, get it in Facebook live stream. It stays up for 30 days on the live stream. But we also then take our clinic and we download it to Google Drive, and we can send it to you through Google Drive, and that way you've got it for as long as you want to watch it, as many times you want to watch it. So it's not just you don't just have to come to Dublin, Georgia to get it. You can also get that clinic itself through Facebook live stream. I know you got to go. I appreciate you, Rob, and holler back anytime.
No, I appreciate your time. I could talk all day. I know you have to go. You have things you have to do. So I definitely appreciate your time. And we'll make sure we upload this and we'll send you all the videos and stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy. Bye-bye.